Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Belly Up Sports Cup Series Richmond 200 from Richmond International Raceway here in Virginia. My name is David Westergreen. I am joined tonight, as always, by Zach Evans and David Huckleberry, with Sam Boutwell and Dominic Wright over on race control here for the third race of the round of 10 here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series playoffs. Zach, Richmond is a track that was featured as our finale a couple of seasons ago. It has put on some historically very clean and green racing in this next gen car. Do you expect that trend to continue here tonight?
I think it could. Absolutely. Richmond, as you mentioned, tends to be one of the cleaner short tracks we have here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. But you add in the cutoff. We're finding out who will battle for a championship next week with the results of tonight. And also, I can't help but think, David, you'll be able to relate to this. Dave, of course, you spend all these months going to school when you're a college student, and then they give you that week off for Thanksgiving. You go home and you don't crack open a textbook for like an entire week, and all you do is eat food and watch football. And then you come back, it's like, welcome back, students. By the way, finals are next week.
Yeah, that's about what it's
real
like.
Serious, real fast. And that's where we're at tonight.
Yeah, these guys have their work cut out for them. Richmond, always a track that, like I said, it goes green, but you have to tire manage these next gen cars. But on top of that, I mean, the competition level is going to be increased with, as Zach mentioned, that cutoff race. Dave, if we can pull up the playoff points picture here and take a quick look, because there are a few storylines we do need to mention here tonight as we take a look at the top 10 drivers on the right side of your screen. Blake Reynolds and Justin Wadsworth are both locked into the final race, racing for a championship next week at Chicagoland. Jonathan Cutlip and Matthew Weeks are tied for that final spot, just ahead of Ethan Stanley, 6 points back. But the story is Tyler Fody suspended from this race tonight. A secondary storyline is that right behind Tyler Fody, Scott Crump, racing his hometown track, a place that he is the defending race winner here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. And then David Tooker, Seth Rawls, and Daniel Gore will be following suit. So, Zach, 7 drivers to settle out, 2 more spots in the final race. Who's your favorite of those guys, I think, going in?
Gosh, I mean, you talked about it. It's so hard to count out Scott Crump at Richmond. 5 starts, 2 wins. It can be a little bit feast or famine for him, as we know, but if there's a place for Scott Crump to win his way into that championship picture, it is right here at Richmond.
And Scott's going to have to do it from 26th starting position. He did not get a particularly good qualifying lap in. My eyes are on Jonathan Cutlip. It's been, he got, I think back to last season's finale when Jonathan Cutlip got kind of robbed a little bit of the championship racing for it with Blake Reynolds, wound up with I think he was 3rd overall in the standings at the end of when it was all said and done. And, Jonathan Cutlip can race his way back and have another chance at Chicagoland next week. And I think he was the guy that was chasing Scott Crump the last time we were here at Richmond. So I like Jonathan Cutlip to make his way into the Final Four tonight. But let's go ahead and hit the starting grid. The 4D Raceway Pole Award winner is Blake Reynolds. He will be starting alongside my pick to get into the Final Four there, Jonathan Cutlip for Fueled Up Racing. Row 2, it'll be Ethan Stanley for Channel 199 alongside Ethan Burrell for Pro Edge Racing. Row 3, it's Matthew Weeks, 2-time champion, trying to grab a spot in the Championship 4, and Rookie of the Year, Daniel Gore. Corey Abbott will start in 7th alongside the 2000 Busch Series champ, Jeff Green, in 8th. Justin Wadsworth will start 9th, the 24B champion, and he'll be alongside Gerald Campbell in 10th. 11th will be David Tooker, another guy trying to get into that Final Four, and Jaden Racimus, the rookie, in P12.
We look back at the 7th row, you see Garrison Hogan and Seth Rawls looking to win his way into the championship picture tonight. Brent Jones will start 15th, Dustin Dewar lining up in the 16th position. Now we go back to row 9. It's a South Shore row. Ray Bracey will be on the inside. Ty McIntosh lines up on the outside. Gilberto Javier will start in the 19th position. He will be joined by Justin Vandermarl. Then we go back to row 11. Michael Goodman festive-looking number 44, Gavin Higgins, will join him. Mark Ribelis will start 23rd. He will be joined on the 12th row by Ryan Gable.
25th will be Chad Frankenfield. 26th, as I mentioned, Scott Crump will have to find his way to the front from the rear of the field. Jesse Racimus will start 27th. Gavin Hibbs starts in 28th here tonight. 29th will be Michael Hosack. 30th, Ryan Schold. And then closing the field out here will be Josh Adams, 31st. Trey Holmes in 32nd. There's two more, Paul Mikolajczyk and Carlos Acosta here, 33rd and 34th. Field is on the back straightaway here. We are getting ready to go green from Richmond International Raceway. I believe it's not just Richmond Raceway now. I grew up with it, Richmond International Raceway, but we'll call it, it's virtual for now. And Blake Reynolds will lead us down to the green flag alongside Jonathan Cutlip. Reynolds through the restart zone and onto the loud pedal. We are racing from Richmond. Not a particularly good start for Blake in the 66 car. He ends up kind of stacking up the inside lane just a little bit. Fortunately for him, though, that bottom groove here at Richmond, very strong. Reynolds able to put the power down and clear Jonathan Cutlip off turn 2. As we approach turn 3, it'll be Cutlip alongside Ethan Stanley there in row 2. Caught, crash, spinner. It is Jaden Racimus going sideways across the field. I think they all missed him.
We'll take a look at the Revelant photography replay machine here. Yep, just gets loose out of 4.
I think they all missed him. Seth Rawls with an impressive piece of driving to swing to the outside and dodge on by. And nope. There was one bit of contact. It was Michael Goodman into the door of Jaden Racimus. Take a onboard look here with Michael Goodman in that 44 car. You can see what he saw. There goes that one car, and you'll see the C's part, and here it comes down the track. Chad Frankenfield through the grass.
Yep.
So lap 2, now 3 of 200 laps. Race control has gone ahead and given the tally over to Jaden Racimus for the self-spin. Car looked like it really, maybe it was that outside lane with a little extra wheel input that kind of got him snappy loose on the exit of the corner. But I think that's kind of a feature of this next-gen car, Zach, that you can kind of end up with that really loose condition if you're in the gas a little too hard on the outside lane. Quick look at tonight's format as well.
Depending on where the cautions fall, I'm not sure how many of those 5 sets of tires we'll be using.
Right. 5 sets of tires might be generous for a Richmond race. It tends to go green, and we'll see if the early yellow trends continue on. Brief bit of housekeeping. We did have 3 cars already retire from the race. Ryan Schultz, Carlos Acosta, Josh Adams, all electing the start and park method tonight. Thought that we had the quicker cautions on here, and we do not. Still 2 to green here. But while we're here, early pickup and movement within the field. Ray Bracey up 4 spots, up to 13th from 17th after just 1 lap. Gavin Higgins moves up a bunch of spots, 16th from 22nd starting spot. You can see him there. We also got some guys further down in the field. I was going to get to Chad Frankenfield and Scott Crump, who've joined the top 20 here. Those are the 2 I've kind of got my eye on coming from the back of the field. Also, Ryan Gable just ahead of them. Be ones to watch. We'll see if those guys can carve through the field and get into the picture for the lead here as we double up and approach 1 lap to green.
I think we talked about that playoff picture a little bit, but I think pretty much Ethan Stanley you almost have to look for a win because it's got to be so hard to pick up 6 points on both of those guys ahead of you. And then obviously everyone behind them, mathematically or otherwise, you have to be looking for a win tonight.
I think you're absolutely right. And Stanley's in a good spot here, restarting second around his teammate Blake Reynolds. Reynolds with a much stronger restart this time. He's able to clear up to the outside lane and kind of arc the corner as he would expect to with a clean racetrack. Stanley working the outside lane, which is usually a pretty reasonable option here at Richmond. Stanley able to get that run on that outside lane, cleared Jonathan Cutlip. He's running a little bit higher than Blake Reynolds right now. See if Ethan Stanley can challenge for the lead.
Ethan Burrell taking a peek to the outside of Jonathan Cutlip for that third spot. Ethan Stanley settling in for now, but I'm sure he's already going to school, seeing where he might be faster or slower than that 66 car in front of him.
Stanley stalking Blake Reynolds here for the race lead. First battle on track is for the 6th position. It's between Daniel Gore and Corey Abbott for that spot. Gore, currently a playoff driver, working to try and get up there and win this race. As you mentioned, Zach, there's effectively no shot of Gore pointing his way in ahead of the competition. He's going to have to go up there and win this race. A successful rookie season for the driver of the 69, but it's going to take a miracle. I think tonight Gore has expressed a little bit of discomfort with the next gen car, coupled with maybe some unfamiliarity with the Richmond racetrack. And at this point, he said he was going to try anything tonight. Did Daniel Gore? I'm going to hold him to it.
All right, now the thing he has to try to do is get this spot from Corey Abbott, while Justin Wadsworth is absolutely hounding both of them. I feel like Wadsworth is probably quicker than both of these guys, but barring a Chad-wide move, he's kind of just stuck where he's at the moment.
Richmond's wide enough for 3 and 4 wide racing. Don't get me wrong. You can see just how much room there is on the straightaways and in the corners, but with such a big slowdown here at the Richmond Raceway and such tight corners for the corner exit spots right there where you saw Gore get close to the wall, those are the points where this track really narrows up. And so you can go 2 and 3 wide. You can race like that. We've seen it a number of times, both in real life and here on the sim. But it's a little dangerous. Requires a lot of respect and appreciation between the drivers. I don't expect that to happen this early in the race. Justin Wadsworth, a very smart driver last week. Well, 2 weeks ago's winner. He knows how to get it done, and he's much more patient than that. I mean, at Phoenix, he didn't lead until there was about 50 or so laps to go in the race.
And let's be honest, having that win also gives him a little bit more patience, and even he would normally have. Really, he might as well just race for the win. Well, they're not going to give out the win on lap 15. He's in no hurry to get to the front of the field as long as he can get there.
Right, and that's, the kind of thing that Justin Wadsworth is pretty well known for, patience. Another guy right in front of Daniel Gore right now is Matthew Weeks, another guy that's usually typically very patient when it comes to these types of racetracks, these types of races that go green, have a long green flag run, kind of expected, baked into the middle of the event. That's when you expect to see a Matthew Weeks kind of stay patient, take control of the race midway through, and then move on forward.
Matthew Weeks, a former winner as well here at Richmond in the Cup Series back in the 2024 A season. I don't know if he'd call it one of his better tracks, but he has finished in the top 10 each of the last 3 times we have raced here.
Matthew Weeks is pretty good everywhere. It would be
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, you and I, we would kill to have 3 straight top 10s at a track, but for Matthew Weeks, 6th and 7th, that might be a couple of disappointing results.
Right, and Weeks did win. You mentioned that
numbers, by the way.
Oh, right. Weeks did win that race in 2024B. That, I believe, got him into the championship race, or rather 24A.
24A, yes.
24A.
24A.
I think that got him into the championship race. I'm pretty sure that's a race that will, similar to this one. If Weeks were able to pull this race off, kind of the same picture. We seem to run this Richmond track in the playoffs quite a bit here in the Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series.
And I'm fine with that. I think it's a great playoff track, honestly. Obviously, in the real world, we'll never see it because, my gosh, can you imagine Richmond, Virginia in late October? I mean, we snowed out a race here in February in the real world back in the 90s, but, So we're probably
Right.
we're probably not going to see it as a round of 8 race or whatever, a late playoff race, whatever that looks like in the real world next year. I don't know, but yeah, for where iRacing, you don't have to deal with that stuff. It's great.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a little clock here that says real time and sim time in the top left of my screen. In sim time, this is August 16th.
Yes.
Trap temps sitting at a balmy. The outside temps sitting at a balmy 82 degrees. Track temps at 87. So these guys are plenty warm in the sim as opposed to potentially in real life. Up here in Illinois, it's going to be about single-digit degrees this evening.
Ooh, you can have that.
Going to be a little brisk. There's about a foot of snow on the ground as well. It's quite the, we've hit winter early a little bit this year, and of course here in Virginia, it's 80 degrees. We're good. Don't have to worry about that.
No, not at all.
Battle on track for 6th between Daniel Gore and David Tooker. Tooker has bypassed Corey Abbott, Jeff Green, Justin Wadsworth, and now we'll go around Daniel Gore for the 6th position. David Tooker really working forward. And we've mentioned those playoff guys that need a race win. David Tooker is absolutely one of them, hunting his first Belly Up Sports Cup Series championship. He's worked his way forward pretty much exclusively under this second run of the race. Picked up 5 spots. This 19 car looks fast.
It does look fast, and I mean that's another driver you can never count out really anywhere we go. And no, he isn't a former Richmond winner, but he's had plenty of strong runs here. And I just, we're gonna see the cream rise to the top, especially with the playoff implications on the line here tonight. David Tooker's probably going to factor into this one way or the other.
Right. Up front, you're not missing anything if you were questioning why we were covering, the mid-pack of the race here thus far. Blake Reynolds is still out to about a 0.4 of a second lead. It's been sitting at that for the entirety of this first run. Remember that stage 1 does end at lap 65. Though I think at this point, stage points are really only important if you're Matthew Weeks, Jonathan Cutlip, and Ethan Stanley.
Mark Rebelis almost started running the old half mile to get out of the way of the leaders there.
He's still way up the track here, right in front of Matthew Weeks, but I think Rebelis is going to find a way out of harm's way here. Let's go on board with Matthew. Let's drop back. Let's go on board with Jeff Green here.
Yeah.
He knows how to get around this place.
He's probably done it a time or 3.
Zach, take me through a lap at Richmond. What are you looking for when it comes to hitting those marks, trying to find the fast way around this? I think it's a 3/4 of a mile racetrack.
3/4 of a mile racetrack, and I think there are a lot of different approaches to this. You see Jeff Green, he took the very wide arc out of turn 4, got to the wall very quickly. Some guys love really straight lining that, and they're almost not to the wall until they're at the start-finish line. Now, Jeff takes a line I like out of turn 2 here, more that, take the arc, straight line that exit, but he's taking a much wider approach to 3 and 4 and getting up into that outside line, getting up to the wall, whereas you see in front of him, and I apologize, I can't quite tell who that is in front of him.
As Daniel Gore.
Gore kind of taking that more shallower, that's not grammatically correct, shallower exit out of turn 4.
Right. So I'm just trying to also see if maybe these guys are shifting, since we're in the cockpit with Daniel Gore here. Doesn't look like he's... there's a shift to pump up the 5th right there.
And then
drops it down into 4th.
Now I'm curious,
5th.
of course, the backstretch being shorter. Does he grab 5th here? Probably. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Briefly.
Very briefly. Not for long.
Because that guy like racing, I don't like shifting every single straightaway, and you don't got very long to go where you have to shift here at Richmond. See if Jeff's shifting. Yeah, Jeff's shifting. Justin Wadsworth just in front, trying to go around Corey Abbott. Jeff Green back behind them looking on. Here's on board with Justin Wadsworth. He's still side by side with Corey. Corey's having a really good run thus far in the Abbott Motorsports number 21.
The one trick, and I'll admit, I prefer, like I mentioned, I like keeping it nice and straight and having that straight exit out of 2 and 4. But the one thing you do have to be careful of is putting too much wheel in right here or just
Mhm.
before that point, and that's when you can buzz the tires, kind of like what we saw with Jaden Racimus early on. You gotta be real smart with that if you're going to take that line, that you're not overusing the right rear tire on corner exit. If you do it right, I feel like that's how you actually saved a tire, paradoxically, but instead of drifting all the way up to the wall. But you have to be really careful walking that tightrope.
Yep, and that's the beauty of stock car racing around Richmond, and these guys are all in dirty air. There's a bunch of air packed in on the nose going into these corners. I'm sure the right front tires sliding a little on corner entry, and then the rear tires are sliding a little on corner exit. These guys are having to work twice as hard to keep the cars under them. But you think about it, if you're getting a little loose on that exit when you're hammering the throttle, you can kind of even up your tires a little bit. If that right front tire is maybe getting a little bit angry at you on corner entry, you kind of even it up by making your rear tire angry at corner exit and run a balanced car at least.
I think one factor, you talk about, the shifting. I think that's one thing that helps, in a weird way, makes the Cup Series racing cleaner at Richmond compared to what you might see in some other cars, because the shifting kind of takes away. Everybody's able to grab that gear out of turn 4. So you don't see as many of the dive bombs into turn 1 where the guy in front of you doesn't get the exit he needs out of 4 and you get the big run. So you chuck it into turn 1 and he takes the wide entry and he's not expecting you to be there and he drives over your nose.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how bad your exit is out of turn 4. As long as you keep the car pointed in the right direction, you're going to, just fire out the corner in 4th gear, grab 5th when you're good and ready, and you really don't see those reckless moves into turn 1 with this car.
I think you're right. We've glanced on back into the field here as we mentioned that, and I think you're seeing it here, right? These guys are all nose to tail back here. Typically, especially 15th or 20th, you're seeing overdriving, difficulty with guys potentially running their tires poorly. Here's another battle between Jeff Green, Gerald Campbell, Ryan Gable, and Chad Frankenfield. Worth noting that Scott Crump has cleared this group. So Scott, here we go, 3 wide. Ryan Gable going 3 wide. That's not going to work. Gable gets into Jeff Green.
They've all wrecked.
Jeff Green, Gerald Campbell into the wall, and that, I think, is going to end up on Ryan Gable.
Well, I would say on first look, you're right. We will take a look at the Rebel's photography replay machine and give ourselves a chance to talk ourselves out of it, but he sticks the nose in there for sure. Now, what happens after this, though? Is he far enough in to have established? Is he guilt? Is he? That's gonna be a tough one for race control, because, and again, we've said this: you don't have to go to the wall.
No,
but I'm sure Ryan and Gerald were expecting a little more room than they received from Jeff Green.
At that point, I mean, Gable's not even in Jeff's rearview mirror.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's not even right. And I mean, Gerald honestly comes up almost like he doesn't know they're 3 wide, to be entirely honest, which I don't know how he couldn't. That doesn't look like a situation where the spotter would have been calling 2 wide. You were very clearly inside of 3 at that point, I feel like.
And worth noting, the iRacing spotter's a little sketchy when it comes to calling the correct identifications.
It can be, but I feel like there's enough overlap there that even the iRacing spotter would have gotten that one right. I could be wrong, but even if it's not, you do have a mirror, and it would have been very clear to see you were already battling 2 wide with Jeff Green, and then you were 3 wide. It would take a pretty significant lack of spatial awareness from a Cup Series champion to not notice they were 3 wide. So I think there's more than one guilty party there. We'll see what race control says.
Mm-hmm. Off pit road, Blake Reynolds won the battle. Another look what happened to Jeff Green after the fact. Got clipped, I believe, by Gable going by again. Looked like Gable was able to get off pit road pretty quickly, though. No damage on that car. Chad Frankenfield might have had a touch. Pace car's still off. Let's go ahead and grab an ad here under our second caution flag of the race and come back for the conclusion of the stage.
Tickets for the 2026 Season of Speed at Worldwide Technology Raceway are on sale now. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 and Celebration of 66 Festival, June 6th and 7th. The NASCAR Cup Series Enjoy Illinois 300, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and Confluence Music Festival, September 11th through 13th. And the NHRA Napa Auto Parts Midwest Nationals, October 2nd through 4th. Save big by going to WWTRaceway.com.
Back for the Richmond 200. Blake Reynolds is on the loud pedal. We are racing once again. Jonathan Cutlip up to the outside. A very strong restart. Cutlip's going to be able to get alongside Blake Reynolds here, but not quite close enough to challenge for the race lead.
Those front two are able to get.
Stanley
look out!
And Scott Crump. Stanley and Scott Crump both have spun it out on corner exit of turn 4. The caution is out. Ryan Gable does get the tally from the last caution. I don't know who's going to get this one. That was two synchronized spins by Ethan Stanley and Scott Crump, two of our favorites here tonight. Those cars just wiggled right off turn 4.
Well, there you see Ethan Stanley going for the spin. We might have to get one of those broadcast tables to see the synchronized spinning, as there you see Scott Crump regaining control. Yeah, Scott Crump started pretty early in the corner, actually. He wasn't even to the... That's really odd to see. Yeah, if we're getting to the breast tax of the tally, I
have no idea.
The common sense, I think you just let it go. But I think if you're getting down to the brass tacks, you have to put it on which driver brought out the caution. Unfortunately, by virtue of not spinning into the grass, that is probably the 90 car, especially with the contact there with a shift car.
I believe it was Seth Rawls. Or it might have been Gavin Hibbs. Man, so two of our favorites taking a slide here. I mean, Crump had worked his way. I was just about to call him out too. He had worked his way up to 11th, was really knocking on the door for the top 10 there, and that car just steps out from under him.
It almost looked like from that onboard, and I'll admit I haven't raced at Richmond recently in the sim. I don't know if I have raced it at all since this update. It almost feels like he hit a bump right about here. See that?
Yeah, he did.
And then that's what seemed to upset the balance, and maybe somebody with a little more experience could let me know if that's a common issue with this car in that particular part of the racetrack. But
why don't we quick check Ethan Stanley's on board as well from the cockpit and see if he hit the same bump? They both ran the bottom.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Or I guess we won't. No, sorry. We would like Ethan Stanley's on board.
Ethan Stanley's
to double
on board,
check.
sorry.
Yes.
Sometimes when they talk in my ears, some guys are louder than the other.
No, there's no way.
Okay, so Ethan Stanley on board.
There we go.
Top roof camphor.
No, that
was much later.
Yeah,
much later. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, now we know.
And we'll have to keep our eye on who runs the bottom lane there in turns 3 and 4. I mean, it seemed like that was a bit treacherous on old tires. Obviously, they've heated up for a lap. That might change things, but You look at the bottom lane here. Obviously, Blake Reynolds going to probably be sitting there, but Ethan Burrell, David Tucker, Garrison Hogan, Corey Abbott, Gavin Hibbs, all guys that are riding the bottom lane that very well could hit the bump. Race control does give the tally to Scott Crump. I'm sure he's unhappy that it's just him.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe that is technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Green flag is back out. Blake Reynolds able to get on the loud pedal and get clear of Jonathan Cutlip this time. Cutlip again rides very hard into turn number 1, but is not going to be able to get alongside Blake Reynolds. He will be side by side with Ethan Burrell. 3 Pro Edge Toyotas in the frame right now. Burrell, David Tucker, and Matthew Weeks all battling it out for top 5 spots. Garrison Hogan is up into 6th now after he started in 13th. So Hogan's been moving forward steadily throughout the race. Justin Wadsworth, Daniel Gore, Corey Abbott, Gavin Hibbs into the top 10. No spins that time on the bottom lane through turns 3 and 4.
I do wonder if you mentioned the cold tires or you worn tires, but we also have seen with this car, both in the sim and real life, on low tire pressures, you are definitely much more susceptible to those 2 bumps like that on the racetrack. And I wonder if that might not be a factor as well.
I think you're right, and it's so just surprising. It takes 2 of the strongest competitors out of the race. Those are guys that you're not expecting to make
I won't say out of the race.
Right. Take them out of the top 5.
Right. For now. Yep. We've still got 150 laps for those guys to work their way back into the picture. I wouldn't count either of them out yet.
It does shift Ethan Stanley's focus, I think, over to the race win. He is not going to get the stage points that he was probably in line for before that first yellow flag. While he was running second, it kind of puts it shuffles him to required to win this race. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the broadcast. He was required. I think it's going to be tough to make up ground on the guys who are running second and third right now in the points, but. He was ahead of them right before that. He was ahead of them, and with a good stage finish, he might have been able to do it. But now it is win or bust.
It was going to make it a lot more magical if he was able to cut that 6-point gap to 2 or 3 with the stage points, right? Then it was going to be, so you're saying there's a chance. Now that gap's going to open into the double digits in all likelihood. And that I think you're absolutely right. That's got to change the focus for the driver of the 91.
And we shouldn't count him out. We've seen Ethan Stanley come back from much heavier deficits. Sure. He's lagged out of the event and come back and won it. So I wouldn't count Ethan Stanley out by any means. He is also, I believe, going to be on a tire disadvantage. I don't know if he and Scott changed tires under that pit stop when they came down pit road. I'm assuming they did because they spun out, but that'll put you down a set of tires, and you can probably make it to the end fairly easily on 2 more stops. But if we get a rash of caution somewhere in there, the leaders are able to come get tires. You might need to stay out, bite the bullet, and then get tires on the next opportunity.
Gavin Higgins has left the building.
Well, that's not the way to make your dreams come true.
As says Jeff Green and Gerald Campbell after their wreck on the front straightaway. It puts us at 28 cars remaining in the race. And here's the race lead. First time all night we've really had a challenger approaching Blake Reynolds. Jonathan Cutlip's been able to keep him very close. No lead changes yet in this race, though, but this is approaching that stage finale, and Jonathan Cutlip sure would love to get that extra point over Matthew Weeks if he could. With team cars behind, I doubt there will be a whole lot of pressure on Matthew Weeks here. I think he'll probably nail third in this stage. It's really going to be up to Jonathan Cutlip whether he's able to get around Blake Reynolds and go for that extra point within the next couple of laps. Cutlip's just losing ever so slightly to Blake Reynolds right now. The times are a couple hundredths off each lap. That's making it awfully difficult for Cutlip to get up there and bypass Blake Reynolds. Here's the battle for the points. Corey Abbott has it. Seth Rawls, Jesse Racimus, Ryan Gable hounding him.
Ooh.
They're looking for a stage point. Looks like Racimus might have gotten a little piece of the wall that'll allow Rawls to clear. Now, Seth Rawls, even if he gets into the top 10 in points here for a stage point, he's going to need to win the race in order to move on into the final four. Ray Bracey loose off turn 4. I think he held on to it. That's turn 2, rather. Bojo coming back from... Oh, Wadsworth down the running order. Did he lag out?
Temporarily, he's right back.
He's back. Woo. That's about the only car that it doesn't matter. 2 to go on the stage for Blake Reynolds, trying to hold off Jonathan Cutlip. Cutlip hounding him close to the back bumper. The battle for 10th is what you have on your screen. Corey Abbott is in that spot. Seth Rawls, Jesse Racimus trying to grab that stage point. 1 lap to go. Looks like it's going to be Corey Abbott nabbing a stage point. Up front, it'll be Blake Reynolds capturing the stage win. Reynolds will continue his dominance and prevent Jonathan Cutlip and Matthew Weeks from being able to capture additional points and move ahead. The other drivers getting points in the stage were Ethan Burrell, David Tooker, Justin Wadsworth, Garrison Hogan, Daniel Gore, Gavin Hibbs, and Corey Abbott.
And as far as playoff points go, stage points go, the stage in the last cutoff race is about as pointless as it gets unless you're one of those guys that were near the cutoff like Cutlip or Weeks. The extra playoff point will not help Blake Reynolds next week at Chicagoland at all. And for a lot of these guys, especially who were battling for that cutoff, they're already out of the playoff conversation. But it's still a point of pride, right? It's still something to race for, still something to hang your hat on, and obviously a big deal for those guys.
I think we have a stage next week at Chicagoland too, but that'll be equally pointless. There are no points to be awarded for our championship for it. It will be the best finisher at the end of the race among those that group, 2 of which we know. It'll be Blake Reynolds and Justin Wadsworth fighting it out. Quick update on guys who spun in our last caution flag. Scott Crump is up to 14th. Ethan Stanley is up to 15th. They are working their way towards the top 10, though I believe they will need caution flags and then to not spin the car on cold tires in order to close that gap. Crump was already coming back from a poor qualifying run. Mm-hmm. You know, Zach, you get a mulligan, right? You get a bad qualifying run. Sure. That's okay. It is remarkably difficult to overcome multiple drops to the back of the field in one race. You know, Crump starts at the back, then he drops back here after the spin. He's got time, but boy, you can't use up all your luck that quickly.
Right. Especially knowing the pace that's going to be set up front. I mean, here's where you're going to run into issues. Scott Crump's probably significantly quicker than several of these cars in this log jam in front of him. But how is he going to get through this? We've seen how hard it can be to complete a pass, to make a pass. He's got to find a way through this without, getting involved in another incident, because especially if he does and he is deemed at fault, I mean, that's ball game.
Right. But you could also argue from Scott's point of view, right? Even if you get kicked out of this race from a tally of some sort, you're giving it your all. You're trying to go win this race. That's basically your only shot. So you might as well, run as hard as you can here. Try and go and win this race. He's very clearly quick. He just blew past Ethan Stanley. He's much faster than these guys right now. You look in there, you can see the brake rotors on Jesse Racimus' number 80 car. I don't see those on Scott Crump's car. He is much smoother right now than these guys in front of him.
Okay. Little bump. Yeah, I was about to say, I thought Crump was going to stick it 3 wide there. He did not, but you can tell he is getting a little bit restless here behind Jesse Racimus.
There's not a whole lot he can do. Ryan Gable's up there as well, his teammate, with a little bit of damage. See what Scott does here, because, yeah, I mean, Jesse and Scott have also had a couple of run-ins this season. Crump drives to the inside. 3 wide on corner exit here. We've seen that go poorly already in this race. Rawls way up top. Racimus in the middle. Crump to the bottom. And they'll remain 3 wide. But, yeah, Crump's in a really dangerous spot right here.
Yeah, and I think it almost worked for him the way it was going to have to. You show the 3 wide, you get the guy to overdrive in front of you, and then you slide inside of him. He just wasn't able to complete the pass, and now he's kind of stuck still in this middle lane because Jesse Racimus is just really having a hard time finding some pace in that 80 car, and now Scott Crump is stuck behind him, and that's got to allow Ethan Stanley to get through, but now he's in the same situation. He's got to find a way around this 80 car.
Having raced with Scott a number of times, I mean, he gets real hot at times, and it seems like he was driving with a lot of very smooth conviction before getting in behind Racimus. This is a guy that they've ran into each other a couple of times this year, not happy with each other, and Jesse's not giving him any room. He's not giving Stanley any room either. That's not. I don't think Jesse's doing anything wrong. He's racing for his position, but Scott's not happy with it, and there's already been a little bit of contact. I don't think. I think Scott's driving significantly harder now to try and overcome what has been a slight roadblock put on him by that 80 car.
And this is always the, what's the word I'm looking for? Moral isn't quite... Philosophical debate with a playoff format, right? Mm-hmm. You know, a driver such as Jesse Racimus in this situation, he's entitled to run his race. He's entitled to defend this position. But some guys will argue, you are not a championship contender. You are not in this playoff conversation. Why are you racing playoff guys like this? I take your side, David. He paid the same entry fee as the rest of these guys. He's here to race. But there's always going to be that other side of the conversation in a situation like this. As now Scott Crump does get around Jesse Racimus, still Ethan Stanley looking for a way around.
Yeah, and I'll never have an issue with guys racing each other here in the race car game. I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do, right? So that's what we're here for. I would be upset if it were otherwise. But we had a similar discussion last night in the 2003 series, which is not a playoff format, it is a full season points format. But every driver is racing for something in said race. Oh, Scott just got a piece of Seth Rawls right behind. Oh my goodness, he is flirting with disaster. Because again, if Scott Crump is deemed at fault for a caution, he will be removed from the race. So as fast as this 90 car is, you can't spin out your competition here. You will just get booted.
Yeah, that's the catch-22 with a season riding on the line for Scott Crump. Is now he's to the inside of Seth Rawls. That's a battle for the 12th position. I mean, every lap he spins side by side with this 25 car, he's losing ground on those leaders, even with the tire advantage or what have you. He needs to get around him, and now he does.
Yep. So move Scott Crump up to 12th. I'll try to make my point here before any more action happens on the racetrack. But we had in the 2003 series last night an incident between a lapped car and a lead lap car. But in that series, we've got guys fighting for the top 10 in points. We've got guys fighting for top 20 in points. Guys fighting for race wins. And then we also have the format where the lapped cars have to be up at the front of the field. Right? It's as if it's 2003. You got the lap cars at the front, and guess what? About 4 or 5 lap cars got their lap back because a caution occurred behind them, and they got out in front of the race leader. I was one of them, but the lap cars had to race, and the argument was, well, you're a lap car. Why are you racing the leaders like that? We had to get our laps back. So that's the only way you can do it in that series. So a very similar argument here, right? I mean, when it comes to playoff versus non-playoff, it's similar to lapped versus unlapped. We're all racing for something. We're on the racetrack together. You gotta figure it out. You gotta find a way to race together. And obviously, finally, Scott Crump able to clear past Seth Rawls, clear past Jesse Racimus, drive on by, and this car is very clearly quicker than these other cars. Look at the distance he's putting on them.
Yeah, we're gonna see probably him start to eat into that gap to the leaders now that he has a little bit of clean racetrack. But it took quite a bit of work for Scott Crump to get through that group of cars just outside the top 10.
And shout out to Michael Hosack right here trying to follow Scott Crump through. He started 29th on the race. He is now, if he bypasses Gavin Hibbs, he'll be running 12th. Really good start for Michael Hosak. And, I believe I have a vague recollection, Zach, that we called Michael Hosak's name in a similar Richmond race. I believe he might have gotten wrecked late and did not get the finish he deserved, but he might have been in the top 5 in that race and had a really good opportunity. Right now, it's looking very similarly. This 24 car is pretty fast.
Pretty quick. And now up to, what is that, the 12th position? Yes, it is, as he has made his way past Gavin Hibbs.
There's the biggest movers of the race. Trey Holmes, obviously number 1. He started 32nd on the day. He's up to 14th, just behind this group as well. Another guy that's going to be taking advantage of Gavin Hibbs here, and he's bypassed Ethan Stanley. Looking ahead of this group as Scott Crump approaches the top 10. I do want to shout out that Ethan Burrell has bypassed Matthew Weeks, gotten into P3, and Matthew Weeks is currently under fire from his teammate Justin Wadsworth, there for 4th. So the 11 car, one that we're typically associating with saving the tires really well and being prepped for the long run, doesn't quite seem to have that same long run pace tonight.
No, he does not. And now he's, like you say, under fire from Justin Wadsworth. We got a little bit out of shape there out of turn 2.
I think Weeks is driving it pretty hard. Yeah, there's the time difference. Wadsworth's definitely getting faster right now, but once you get to this point, you get to kind of that bubble of dirty air, it becomes very difficult to pass. Jonathan Cutler's been ridden the entire run in the bubble of Blake Reynolds. He's not fallen more than 4/10 behind Reynolds. He's close to the bumper a couple of times, but it's not enough to bypass a car when you're that similar in speed. I almost think, Zach, that if you're going to want to beat Blake Reynolds here, if you're Jonathan Cutlip, and let's, I don't want to do it yet. We have to make one more pit stop at some point. So during said pit stop, you might need to strategize.
Right.
Whatever that may be. It might be under green. It might not be. You might need to find a way in front of him and just hope that 2 tires, undercut, overcut, whatever it may be, is enough of an advantage to be able to get up there and make a pass.
Right. You've definitely got to start having those thoughts now, right? You're running all the permutations. If I get a caution, then what? If I don't get a caution, then what? How long do I want to stay out here if this run stays green? When do I want to come to pit road? Do I want to react to Blake Reynolds? Do I want to, are you able to get some information from maybe a teammate? There's lots of ways to go about that strategy, but you're already having to have those conversations now, because if you catch yourself just reacting when the time comes, then it's very easy to get yourself into trouble. Right.
Especially if you're one of these drivers, and we're looking at one right now like Daniel Gore, who rather simply must win this race if he wants to move on to the championship 4. Otherwise, it's been a phenomenal season for Daniel Gore. He's won the Rookie of the Year in a fight that he had to face off against a legitimate professional. But that is a tall task, right? But that's where Daniel Gore can be proactive. He can pit, he can short pit, right? He can assume, this race is going green. We're going to try to get a lot of this track position back and then hope for maybe a well-timed yellow flag or something to that effect, right? We've worked out before for certain guys. I think Daniel Gore can be proactive. Oh, there's a caution.
Well,
we'll see what happened there, but that might be the Ryan Gable knows Mark Robilas is out there.
Oh, that looks really weird, right?
Looks like Mark's car slowed down. He maybe checked up because Gore moved up in front of him.
Maybe.
See, Mark's car Gale's not going to get there, but then Robilas' car stops accelerating.
I obviously we don't have the telemetry with us or whatever, but that's certainly how it appears from that angle, right?
We can get a onboard from maybe onboard from Robilas would be the most information. The whole field is down pit road under the live for what it's worth. Here's the onboard for a buy list. Let's check those RPMs if we have them. I don't think we do.
Oh, he definitely lifts. You can see the
Yep.
the RPMs drop.
Yep.
And I think
Gable-
that's what is going to catch Ryan Gable out there. Yeah, you can see. So you're watching the white bar. The colorful stuff is like pit limiter RPM
Yep.
stuff that isn't quite as helpful, but you can see that white bar drop.
And Mark's also not shifting, and those guys are in fourth gear going into fifth gear. RPMs are much higher.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I can pin that on Gable. If he was about to turn below Mark,
Yep.
and Mark's car slows up. I just don't know that even Gable's, again, one tally from being parked here, but how can you assume that car is going to slow up above you?
Well, and I'll do you one better with, frankly, the manner in which Mark Revelis has been ceding time and track position to everyone as he's been lapped throughout the course of this evening. You're probably almost expecting him to give you that spot before you ever get out of the corner. So you're already like, oh, he's still there. Oh my gosh. And then he slows down in front of you on top of that.
Tough one. I don't think I could boot Ryan Gable from the race for that contact. But we'll see what race control thinks, because it's not up to me.
Sure.
And that's a good thing. Do you have any more ads, Dave, that we can go ahead and throw in? Let's go ahead and knock those out.
Numbers don't lie.
He goes 360, 47, and 338.
In our
Now let's hear about Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pick. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big.
Welcome back to the Richmond 200, working our fourth caution of the day. We are 1 to green. Blake Reynolds has led every lap thus far, Zach.
That's pretty good.
It's what you want. Into the restart zone goes Reynolds. He fires off very early in that zone. He'll clear Jonathan Cutlip, but again, Cutlip's been pretty aggressive on these restarts. He's able to get to the outside of the 66. He's just not able to stay alongside on corner exit of turn 2, and that's kind of the spot you need to be able to pin that car down and maybe actually make a pass. Yellow, caution, I heard it.
We're back under yellow.
It is Gavin Hibbs in the 95 that has looped. I think he might have just gotten sideways. Yep. Does that look familiar?
It looks somewhat familiar, yes.
Kevin Hibbs meet Ethan Stanley and Scott Crump. You guys are best friends. And again, that's three of the guys I mean in this series that I assume have some of the best car control in the series, and they're in turn 3, so
Do we have any more ads?
yeah, if we have more ads, let's go to them now. Gavin Hibbs will no doubt get the tally for that one.
I can find some more ads. Here we go.
Have you ever just forgot to hold the brakes during a wreck? Are they just not able to pronounce your name in a race?
Paul Mikolajczyk.
Have you ever been wrecked by Chad? Hi, I'm Ray Bracey, and I'm here to share with you quick shifts. Watch all the highlights, lowlights, and other shenanigans in the top racing leagues, such as the Elite Racing League, and... But don't just take my word for it.
Before Quick Shifts, I was depressed. I wasn't able to relive my favorite moments from each race. Now with Quick Shifts, I can go out there and listen to all my favorite banter from the race while seeing all the crashes and good racing once again.
I don't remember life before Quick Shifts. I had to listen to Cameron Broke and Ty Mac and Cheese recap Oscar every week in the 3-Wide TV booth, but now, thanks to Quick Shifts, I actually enjoy my Oscar recaps.
So try quick shifts. You suffered through it one time, why not suffer through it again? Side effects of quick shifts include constipation, diarrhea, dizziness, dry mouth, abnormal heart rhythms, internal bleeding, numb tongue, unfiltered honesty, loud hiccups, laughing uncontrollably, mandatory dancing, midnight munchies, blue urine, red urine, no urine, and many more.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Richmond 200, working our fifth caution of the race. And if you're tired of the ads, don't worry. We'll be ad-free from here on out. We're well paid. Everybody is happy, and hopefully this race gets a little bit more of a green flag feel to it.
I never said I was happy. I'm going to need you to pump the brakes on happy. I have a reputation to uphold here.
Yeah, the grumpy old geezer.
Yes.
Zach Evans. Pace car down pit road. Blake Reynolds, who has led all 109 laps thus far, will continue to lead. He hits the restart zone. We are racing once again. Reynolds with another strong restart. Cutlip able to jump back down to the inside in front of Burrell. Again, Cutlip tries to challenge up to the outside lane. It's just really difficult for him to actually make ground up on Blake Reynolds up there.
Very, very difficult. This is probably the best he's done so far, but, I mean, look at how much further Reynolds was able to drive it into turn 3 there.
Yeah, it's just, it's almost going to need to be a bumper from Jonathan Cutlip, and that is a guy that typically does not use the front bumper as a passing mechanism. So, luckily for, I'll say luckily for Blake Reynolds, but luckily for Jonathan Cutlip, he is currently, as it stands, into the Final Four, as is Matthew Weeks. So really the only desperation would be out of Ethan Burrell, but he just got very loose, slides to the inside, slicing around him go Weeks, Hogan, Wadsworth, Daniel Gore's way up the racetrack in the outside lane.
And that gets sorted out too wide, but now that's once again created a little bit of a logjam in front of guess who, Scott Crump, just behind David Hooker there.
Crump and Ethan Stanley both trying to work their way through this top 10. Ryan Gable using the outside lane. Daniel Gore up in the outside lane trying to make that lane work. Gable gets a little piece of the wall. As fast as Scott Crump is, right, he's mired in traffic, and it's just so difficult to pass. The car becomes tighter. You lose so much air on the nose. What a difficult spot for Scott Crump to be in, because I do feel like if you could get this 90 car out in the wind, he could challenge for the win.
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, like you say, he's got to find a way to get there first. It's probably going to take another caution, but you probably don't even want it right away. You want to be able to pick off a couple of these guys before it happens.
Yep. First up on the list for Scott Crump is Daniel Gore. Gore got up in that outside line, tried to take advantage of Ethan Burrell's slide. Unfortunately, he'll lose a spot to Burrell. He loses a spot to David Tooker, and now Scott Crump's to the inside of the 69 South Shore Racing machine. And Crump, with that good rotation in turn 3, will move on past and into 8th. While he's there, and luckily he's been there the whole race, so I don't feel too bad about mentioning it, because this has been a very earned result thus far. He's on the screen every time we shift back a couple of spots. It's an all-black car. Brett Jones has been top 15 the entire race. He has special painted this car. It looks fantastic, but he has run very well tonight in this 89 car. 15th in qualifying, run right about here the entire night. Really impressive result from Brett Jones. We don't always talk about him, but I did want to shout him out here with 80 or so laps to go.
Definitely a good run for Brent Jones, like you say, running in that 15th position. Trying to size up Corey Abbott there, who now is battling, well, almost, and he kind of stuck behind Michael Hossack and Trey Holmes in their own battle.
Yep. This is all a battle for 12th to 13th. Holmes is 12th, Hossack 13th. And then Abbott and Brent Jones, but all having very good results thus far tonight. They're in front of playoff driver Seth Rawls, in front of Chad Frankenfield. There might be a power outage at the Racimus household as both of them have dropped connection. And that's a rather funny outcome there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those two have the same internet.
Well, no, I'm not familiar, nor am I trying to dox where they live, but I wonder if, we do know there's some winter... Oh, never mind. I will shut entirely up. I was going to... I wonder if the winter weather caused some issues, but I guess probably not.
No, probably not.
Probably not if that's the case. I'm just going to go ahead and take a long walk off a short pier.
Where did you say? I missed it. Where did you say they live?
Oh, I thought you said they lived in Vegas.
No, I said, do they live near Gavin Higgins? Because he also dropped.
Yeah. Well, they might. I don't know. That's where I was going. If they're somewhere where it's nice and wintry and snowy, I could see where that would be an issue. But I definitely thought I heard Higgins and thought you said Vegas. So now we've just wasted 3 laps talking about something that is.
Because when you think Gavin Higgins, you think Las Vegas.
I didn't know.
Sure he is still a minor.
What?
Isn't he? He might not
would
be.
be
anymore.
absolutely bored in Las Vegas.
Oh God!
So
now I do. All I was saying was I misheard the words. I misheard the words. I know he's not from Vegas.
Let me try to get us back on track here.
What you're saying is Gavin Higgins loves Vegas.
Nope, different Gavin. Different Gavin.
See, you did it too. I knew it. See, Dave, you did it too. Back on track we go into the race here. As things went off the rails for a second, we're back. Don't worry, Brent Jones side by side with Seth Rawls here. There's Gavin Hibbs. He's the only Gavin HI on the racetrack right now, as Higgins has dropped from the server about 68 laps ago.
Higgins at some point tonight.
Most certainly. Blake Reynolds continues to lead over Jonathan Cutlip and Matthew Weeks. If the race were to end right now, the two drivers racing against Reynolds and Wadsworth for the championship would be Cutlip and Weeks. But it's not over yet. Plenty of race still to go. Lots of fast cars, plenty of drama potentially to unfold.
Well, you talk about drama. We haven't mentioned him a lot, but he is moving forward on this run, just ahead of this 25 car. Dare we mention Chad Frankenfield on the move here?
Up to 16th. Yeah, I mentioned that they were in front of him, but this car started to come to life a little bit. We'll see if Chad can continue to make up spots. It's been a trying and tumultuous season for Chad. He's had some good pace at times. Other times, this car is wound up in the wall by the driver's own doing. So we'll see if he's not able to put together a decent result here tonight.
Gets plenty of racing room here from Justin Van der Marel. Can't quite get the run off the corner to complete that pass. I feel like Frankenfield has the quicker car, but just has not been able to quite seal off that pass yet. Might have it here.
Yep, there you go. Chad Frankenfield by. Another battle I want to turn our attention to up the track is Scott Crump versus David Tooker. They are side by side, have been for a couple of laps now. Crump once again kind of bottled into one of these spots where he's able to tuck to the rear bumper of the car in front of the car in front of him, but unable to make the pass. And with these, you got 4 or 5 Pro Edge cars all in a row here. They are fully aware that Scott Crump probably needs to be raced rather hard, because if he gets in front of all of them, he might just drive away and win this thing. That's why I kind of try to harp on that qualifying effort. You know, it's you can make your way through the field. You can overcome it, but you can see Scott Crump and Ethan Stanley, 8th and 10th. They have not been able to regain the form that we have kind of expected from them. And Stanley ran second for the first run of the race, but since he spun, he's not been able to get back there.
It's so difficult, right? Especially as you get further and further to the front of the field, and those lap times get more and more even with your pace, even as a front runner, it becomes so much harder to make those passes between the equal pace, the aero, all of the factors that come into play at a high caliber series such as this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be perfect these days, right? It's what makes this so difficult and makes those first wins so rewarding, right? We got to have one of those a couple weeks ago with Seth Rawls. We got really Justin Wadsworth's second career win, which is surprising. The last 2 weeks ago at Phoenix, and it just a lot of emotion. Those guys, you can see how much it means to them, right? They're racing against the best of the best in this series, and they're always very appreciative when we get to talk to folks about those wins, and that's why we race, right? That's why we love doing this. And some of these guys win a lot, we know, but when you can break through and have somebody new win, that always makes it special. And yeah,
and it's kind of funny how that's the complexion this season has taken. If you look back at the start of the season, and it was very much a 2 or 3 horse race. We were even asking, at times, who are you taking, Channel 199 or the field for a couple of weeks there, and now we've gotten kind of to the end of the season, and yes, Blake Reynolds did win the first race in the round of 10, but Justin Wadsworth picking up that win last week. Tyler Fody had won 2 of the 3 races in the round before, but obviously he is not in the conversation tonight after that suspension. He will not be in the championship 4. We saw some different winners to round out the end of the regular season. It's been a little more unpredictable as the season has gone on.
Yeah, I've liked that, right? And this next gen car, one of the things that it really came in with was that unpredictability. And unfortunately, what's happened is, as we've gone both in iRacing and in real life, we've seen that become more and more predictable. So I like when we can get a little taste of ability. And tonight it's been Blake Reynolds leading all 139 laps. I do want to shout out Chris Wright in the chat. He's messaging me on Discord on top of messaging us in the chat. So hi to Chris. Stop distracting me. We got a race to call.
You mentioned that unpredictability when the next-gen car first came to iRacing, which, remember, was a full 6 months before it took the track in the real world, with kind of a Frankenstein package that we thought was going to be the Cup Series package, and then they tested it and realized it needed at least 100 more horsepower and all kinds of other stuff. But we were using we were basically beta testing the next gen car for the first season here in the Cup Series, and I was racing at that time, and I had a couple of top 10s in crown jewel races by merely surviving, because that car was just such a handful and so challenging for even guys who frankly are much better than me at iRacing. But it was just such a learning curve at that time that, like you say, created a lot of shakeups up and down the running order. And I would be able to do that now, but at the time, it was pretty much the perfect time for me to come into the Cup Series and pretend I had something that vaguely resembles talent.
It was, that series was really interesting when you bring that up, as if we can jump back on Scott Crump and David Tooker and enjoy that battle. The thing about that series was that the car was, as you mentioned, right, it was unpredictable, but tight. Yeah, this is David Tooker's trying to hold Scott Crump off, and Scott's been kind of held up by him for a number of laps to this point, and I think he's getting a little impatient.
Well, you will have that sometimes, especially when these two teams get to battling on the racetrack.
That's absolutely right. Pro Edge and Lake Norman, not the biggest fans of one another.
No love law. Regardless of the drivers, regardless of the parties. Tends to come up a couple of times each season.
Right. They just find each other on the racetrack. It's like Hendrick Motorsports and Gibbs, right? They're always racing against each other, and you'll wind up with every now and again with the two parties at odds. And right now, think about last week. They ran this exact, I guess 2 weeks ago, they ran this formation, right? Justin Wadsworth was a car up ahead of David Tooker, who was a lap down, and then Scott Crump ran in third. And there for quite a while, Crump wasn't able to get around Tooker, and it's a lot of the same here.
Scott Crump again, getting back to the inside. Really sailed it off into turn 3, but makes it stick.
He still hasn't been able to find the way by them.
Yeah, Tooker just gets that run off the corner. Yeah, there's Crump up the hill a little bit. Little hip check, but ultimately it hurts him more than it helps him.
This falls in behind David Tooker once again, and Scott Crump's definitely seeing the potential for a win fall by the wayside here.
Ryan Gable might have gotten a piece of the wall there out of turn 2. And I think the tough part with this run is I would have to imagine, again, was told there would be no math, but I feel like fuel is not a concern thanks to that caution just past halfway.
Yeah, I would hesitate to believe there will be any sort of additional pit stop.
If this goes green, if this goes green, this is what you've got, right?
Yep. Now, I'd say it's a little unlikely. We've seen stranger things than a yellow flag late in one of these events.
Oh, for sure.
Tooker now challenging Ethan Burrell for a spot after defending against Scott Crump for a number of laps. And Burrell will roll over for the teammate, but that's going to invite Scott Crump to the inside. Wasn't able to capitalize. Up front, Jonathan Cutlip is still about 0.3 of a second behind Blake Reynolds. Just has not been able to get up there and make a pass. It's been not too dissimilar to a few other races we've seen this season, but remember last week at Phoenix, it was much of the same until very late in the going when Justin Wadsworth was able to jump to the outside and make a pass. We continue battling here between Scott Crump and Ethan Burrell now. David Tooker starting to drive away from this duo. I think Crump might get Burrell here. Burrell's car's not rotating in the center as well as Tooker's, but yeah, no, not yet.
Still able to just get that drive on corner exit on the outside this time. I mean, that's almost a slide job there, and it might have actually hurt Crump because now Burrell's got to try to cross over here. Burrell's got to get to the inside, but can he get that drive off the inside of the corner and stay alongside Scott Crump? I think that's where you're right. That's where that lack of rotation from the 37 car is going to finally seal this battle.
Ethan Burrell's a really talented driver, a guy who's been a race winner in this series, a long-time championship contender. The one area where I believe and Ethan's been saying for a while about himself, he's saying, well, I feel like I've lost a step. These guys are really fast now. The area I see is here he goes cutting sideways. Long runs, Ethan Burrell's car, he's just not been as good as he used to be at locking down the old tires, right? The long run pace. This car's just not quite what it was a couple of seasons ago, and that's unfortunate. Ethan's just gonna have to get back in the booth and try and work on it.
That was Ray Bracey pulling on the pit road.
That car is damaged. It might have gotten further damaged.
I see.
Bojo was before the race a little lamenting he hadn't put much practice, and he is one of those that I think fell victim to the Thanksgiving of food and no iRacing, and felt a little rusty back on the server there.
Well, you'll have that. If I were racing tonight, it wouldn't be any better, I assure you.
Mm-hmm. After bypassing Ethan Burrell has also lost spots to Scott Crump, Ryan Gable, and Ethan Stanley. He did.
He did.
He's trying to make his own diecast car. That guy is incredible with the paint schemes. He makes all the South Shore paint schemes. He does great work.
Trying to bring that work to the real world, even if it is a 1/24 scale. Hey, look, it's Ethan Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley trying to make his first pass in quite a while to get around Ethan Burrell here.
Yeah, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, at least for tonight, with Ethan Burrell. Just this long run, that car has lost a lot of pace here, and it is falling back. It will probably lose a few more spots here before this one's said and done, if there's not a caution to kind of reset the clock for Mr. Burrell.
And what you don't want, if you're an Ethan Burrell fan, is you don't want him to be the caution either.
Right.
That car has gotten loose a couple of times, got loose early in the run, got loose just a couple of laps ago. And speaking of guys who are starting to struggle, I think Scott Crump might have burned up the tires on that 90 car fighting against David Tucker, because he and Ryan Gable are now side by side just in front of this group.
And that's a tough spot for Ryan Gable to be in, as well as a teammate, because you know the situation. You're not a playoff driver. Scott Crump is. Scott Crump needs to win, but again, you've got to run your race too, and at some point you have to see, barring a caution, a win is probably not in the cards for Scott Crump. So at what point do you have to just, where's the line there?
Mm-hmm. Well, Scott will argue, hey, the caution could still come out, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
If we're gonna try to work. Yep. So, and I would say I think this car's really fallen off at this point. So you can see the guys who've really burned up their stuff, and I believe it's that right front tire. It's the tire Scott was really able to keep on the car the last time we were here. Right now, it seems like entering the corner and rotating through the center of the corner is where this 90 car has lost all of the luster that it had early in the race when he was picking off spots. He was able to drop to the bottom of the racetrack, wrap that yellow line. Right now, he is several lanes off the bottom playing defense for a 7th spot.
And we talk about seeing some of these cars gain or lose pace late in this run. Jonathan Cutlip is no longer in the bubble for Blake Reynolds. He's fallen back to about 7/10. Have to wonder if that's the beginning of the end as far as anybody else's chances of winning this race if we stay green.
Yep. It's making it tough, right? Blake Reynolds has led all 167 laps tonight. He has found a lot of the pace that, really will make him a favorite next week at Chicagoland. Though it is a different type of racetrack, we've seen Blake Reynolds have a lot of pace in those 1.5 mile type tracks as well this season. And, it seems like if nobody can take it to him tonight, he could win 3 of 4 on his way out with closing up a repeat championship here in the Elite Belly of Sports Cup Series. There's a playoff driver we haven't really talked about. Well, I think it's a former playoff driver, actually. Paul Mikolajczyk, up in 14th. We haven't really mentioned his name all day. Now into 13th, actually, but this car's starting to come to life here late in the going. So, too, is the guy in front of him, Chad Frankenfield. This group's starting to move closer and closer to the top 10. They've just gone around Daniel Gore a couple of laps ago.
about to say, that's quite a typo.
The nom.
It was before my time.
McEleshik, Trey Holmes, Chad Frankenfield all fighting for a top 10. Corey Abbott just bypassed Ethan Burrell for that 10th spot. So that'll be the spot that whole group we were just looking at is running for. Good little day for.
If this 15 car is got to get to that 37 car as well.
I think it will. There's a lot of race left. Still 28 laps. Good little race for Corey Abbott. He's had a fine performance tonight. Been up in the top 10 a good majority of the day. If not in the top 10, outside looking in, able to race back up into it. Good night for Corey Abbott in a season that's been a little tumultuous, but certainly a strong showing this evening. The Lake Norman fight continues on. Ryan Gable just bypassed Scott Crump for 7th.
Talk about an up and down night for Ryan Gable. Of course, involved in a couple of cautions tonight. Picked up 1 tally and has fought his way back to the 7th spot.
Yep, good night, all things considered. But you look at the starting position for these two cars, and I can't help but wonder what a good qualifying effort would have done. These guys have had to pass a lot of cars. That's no doubt hindered their ability to have pace and have track position at the end of this race. I mean, you could argue Blake Reynolds won this race in the qualifying lap.
Oh, for sure. And especially, I mean, we joke about the D West biggest movers. Well, that's only starting position to finishing position. It does not account for Scott Crump having to pass the entire field basically twice at this point.
It's no doubt hindered the 90 car here down the stretch where he's starting to lose a significant amount of pace. Just under 25 laps to go for Blake Reynolds. He has a 1 second lead over Jonathan Cutlett. Matthew Weeks is over 4 seconds back now. Garrison Hogan 5 back. Justin Wadsworth in a dogfight with David Tooker and Ryan Gable for that 5th position behind them. They are 7 seconds behind the leaders. And Scott Crump's even starting to lose more time than that. He is back to 9 seconds back. Ethan Stanley sits in 10th, 9th, Corey Abbott in 10th. Ethan Burrell falling into the clutches of Paul McEleshik now, and then Chad Frankenfield just behind him.
Here goes Ryan Gable around Justin Wadsworth. That is the 6th position.
Wadsworth lost both of those spots in very short order. And luckily for that 6 car, he's already got a race win. He's locked in next week at Chicagoland. He'll be racing the home track for a championship. It would be his 2nd. See what old Justin Wadsworth has to say about it. He's been strong at those 1.5 miles as well. He's been right on Blake Reynolds' bumper a couple of different times.
And of course, we talked about it a lot tonight with Scott Crump, the home track race. That will be a home track race for Justin Wadsworth when we go to Chicagoland in 1 week's time.
And he'll no doubt be well prepared for that one. And remember the last time he ran for a championship, he won it. Did Justin Wadsworth. Here comes Ethan Stanley underneath Scott Crump. That is for the 8th position. Give it to Ethan Stanley. Another guy, if you started out the season and told me Ethan Stanley wouldn't be racing for a championship, I would have told you you're crazy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We were one of those drivers we thought, especially with the start of the season he had, that he was going to be in that championship conversation. We were almost penciling him into the championship for, but just, has not been the playoffs he has needed so far.
Right. I mean, we've got 17 laps to go. We could get a yellow flag here, but I won't write Stanley's eulogy just yet. But this guy, not yet being a Belly Up Sports Cup Series champion, it remains quite a quite the surprise, quite the kind of shocking fact. He's been in the Final Four quite a bit. He's missed the Final Four a couple times with a lot of race wins. Last year won, 7 races. Was unable to win the championship there. Fight here between Gavin Hibbs and Daniel Gore. This is for 15th. 15 laps to go. The 69 car's looking a little spent. And give it to Gavin Hibbs. Jonathan Cutlip is starting to gain on Blake Reynolds. It's not much. About a tenth or two the last couple of laps, but 5 cars starting to close in on Reynolds ever so slightly.
Seth Rawls showing a meatball.
That might be a tire down.
I was about to say, could we start seeing some flat tires here? And this is going to be a hard place to get that, especially if you have a flat tire, to make pit entry. We definitely have to watch out for guys who tried to make that pit road and miss it and end up washing back onto the racetrack, if that is a recurring issue we're going to see in these final 13 laps.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility. We're seeing a lot of guys slow way down. Justin Vandermarl just went a lap down. Brent Jones just went a lap down. Justin Wadsworth has already backed off his pace significantly. Crump has had some issues. Burrell is falling back. It's a lot of these guys could really start to see that tire wear, make some gains. I think, Dave, we should jump up to the race lead because Jonathan Cutlip is starting to make some ground on Blake Reynolds. Last time by, they ran about the same lap time last time by. Reynolds was kind of in traffic, but he's starting to gain. Is Jonathan Cutlip. I wonder if the tires are starting to go away just a little bit on Blake Reynolds' car.
And here you see Seth Rawls coming out of pit road. This has got to be another factor. If there are other guys that are having this tire issue, they're going to be coming out with fresh tires, and I mean just a head of steam trying to negotiate these leaders on much older tires.
Cutlip's cut the lead from over a second down to 0.8, but it looks like it's stabilizing right about there. The way he was closing in, though, initially I was thinking maybe Reynolds would be one of the cars that might have this tire issue.
Right.
But as it stands, the lap time has gone back up. Blake Reynolds is back to 23 flats, which is what he's been running for a majority of the run. Cutlip ran a 23.1 in clean air. I think we can go back to wherever the nearest battle on the racetrack is. Might be right here. Might be the cars behind this duo. This is for 5th between Gable and Tooker. Corey Abbott's hunting after Justin Wadsworth just behind them. Here's Daniel Gore going after Chad Frankenfield.
So that'll move Gore up to the 15th position.
Yep. And here's Corey Abbott. He just went around Justin Wadsworth for 8th. Scott Crumps threw a block on the back straightaway in front of Paul Mikolajczyk, trying to hang on to a top 10 spot. But he's coming up on Justin Wadsworth pretty quickly as well. Just got passed by the race leaders, so Gilberto should be able to find his way down to the apron, out of harm's way. Here's Gable after David Tooker once again. And 5th place, change Ryan Gable. Mikolajczyk's going after 10th from Scott Crump. And I don't know if Crump's going to have the tire to hang on to that spot. Tooker tried to get back by Gable. He's not going to be able to make that happen yet. Good season for David Tooker, but it's just he never got to victory lane, and that's kind of what it takes. I think these days to get
Just
to
about.
that championship race,
Mm-hmm.
Got to have at least one or a couple of wins in your pocket. Tooker was good, but he didn't have any of those playoff points to get him up there, and then he ran, about 5th to 10th every playoff race. Just isn't going to be enough to get you to the the Championship 4.
No, it's not. And I think you're absolutely right. Obviously, the consistency has been there, but you've got to get those wins to get those playoff tickets or those playoff points, and to keep yourself moving forward. And that just has not been there for David Tooker this season.
So disappointing end to the season for Tooker. He'll be the highest finishing playoff driver in this race that did not lock themselves into the Championship 4. Ethan Stanley just behind him as well. It'll be a disappointing season overall to remember for Ethan Stanley, but a number of race wins, very, very solid strength. But Richmond got loose coming out of turn 4, and that did wind up biting him to the point that he will not make the Championship 4 here tonight. 2 laps of racing to go. I'm assuming no yellow flag, and we'll wrap this thing up in a neat 40 seconds. Blake Reynolds is on the back straightaway, heading towards the white flag. I believe it'll be Reynolds' 4th win of the season. I could be wrong about that. White flag is out. To 3rd win of the season it would be for Blake Reynolds. A very dominant showing. He's led every single lap this year, which I believe that's the 2nd time it's happened here at Richmond in 2 races. Reynolds tucks in behind Daniel Gore. No challenge from Jonathan Cutlip behind. Blake Reynolds will win the Richmond 200. He'll head into the Championship 4 with a solid bit of momentum. Jonathan Cutlip will finish in 2nd to Blake Reynolds. Matthew Weeks in 3rd. Cutlip and Weeks will advance to the Championship 4 alongside Reynolds. Here's the battle for 7th. At the line, it is Corey Abbott taking it over Ethan Stanley. Actually, that's the battle for 8th. Mick Elisha got by both of them. There you go, Reynolds. 200 laps led, pole, victory. He'll race against Jonathan Cutlip, Matthew Weeks, and Justin Wadsworth for a championship next week at Chicagoland.
Pretty thorough victory there for Blake Reynolds as he begins his celebration on the front stretch.
Yeah, this was a very dominant performance. I think next week will be a little more competitive given the performance of this next-gen car on the 1.5-mile type racetracks. Look at the results. We talked about David Tooker and Ethan Stanley in the closing laps. Scott Crump won a couple of races this season, but wound up not able to capitalize due to the poor qualifying effort and the spin. Daniel Gore will result with the Rookie of the Year award, but he will be knocked out of the playoffs here. And then I believe the other couple of playoff drivers in this field tonight down the running order will be Seth Rawls, who blew a tire late. And then Tyler Fode obviously will miss the playoffs after the suspension. We've got runners here, 2nd and 3rd in the booth. Let's bring them up and talk to Matthew Weeks, who will go drive for a championship next week at Chicagoland. It would be his 3rd if you're able to win it, Matthew, but take us through your drive tonight. Looked like you guys were in control right from the get-go and were able to breeze home with a nice P3.
Yeah, it was a good night. We had some good runs. I just knew that my qualifying has been like my weakest link all season, and I knew I just needed to qualify good. And luckily, I think we qualified like 5th, and that was a good starting spot. But the guys, John was right in front of me, and we were tied to start this race. And I think Stanley started right in front of me, and he's 6th behind me. So my main goal was just to try to stay as close to them as possible, and then hope that Stanley didn't win, and then he had a mishap out of 4, and then once we got stage points, it kind of felt really safe. So after that, I was just trying to really just stay where I was at, top 5, just try to get a solid finish. I didn't even care about winning. I just was trying to make sure I had a good finish to get into the Champ 4.
Well, now that you are in the Champ 4, obviously the focus turns to Chicagoland next week. How do you feel going into that full distance race next week?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I love the full distance races. Y'all know that. Those are my favorite races. The more laps on the track during the race for me, the better I get. Like, I started bad tonight, and I got better as the race went on. And and then I just took care of it. So, and then it's a high wear track, which I like that as well, and you can really use multiple lanes and move around there. So I'm excited for Chicagoland, and I got to put some laps in, and it's obvious I'm behind John and Blake. You know, they race more than I do, so I just need to really get on the ball this week and really try to run some laps and get locked in.
And Matthew, obviously, that focus jumps to that championship 4 race, but with that, looking back at this season, would you just, if you don't make it to the championship or, win the championship next week, would you describe it as a successful season thus far? If we're, looking at it through the lens of right now, before you've gone and tried to race that championship, or you got a lot more to go?
I think this right here, just making it is good. Like, yeah, I won the 500, to start the season, but after that we were mid. Like I stated earlier, I've been qualifying really bad. I would scrape the wall on my second lap, wouldn't be able to put a lap in because it don't count it, and having to drive through traffic. I mean, I was able to get some good finishes, but not the results I really felt like I deserved. I feel like if I had top 10 qualifying speeds at like Darlington, Vegas, well, I had a speeding penalty late, so I can't really count that. And I forget another track where I qualified bad. If I didn't have those, I felt like I could have possibly won those races. So, and then how we pointed it into the Champ 4, how we did, I mean, I felt like I shouldn't even made it this far with how some of the stuff that's happened, how everything has went. But we really got strong this round and finished where we needed to go. And now I'm good, no stress. We made it where we wanted to make. This is where you really want to make it right here. So now the main goal is the go tie Tate, the Pro Edge legend for winning 3 for us. So I gotta even him up.
And before we let you go, start getting that track time for next week. Who do you have to thank on this 3rd place finish tonight?
All my buddies at Pro Edge, man. I know Wadsworth was already locked, so he was cheering me on, and Tucker was there. Those guys really helped me lock in during races. Sometimes I lose focus and get distracted, and they get me really locked in. So shout out to those guys. My buddy Justin Vandermeer, he's been joining us in Discord lately, racing with us. I've been having a blast with that. He paints all my schemes. Represent his brand that JV Designs. Hit him up. He makes some beautiful paint schemes. My buddy John Cutlip, at JD Designs, he makes some good schemes. And all the Field Up guys and Channel 199 guys, we're all good friends. If we're not racing on Monday and Wednesdays, we're still hanging out in Discord and having a good time and playing other games. So it's a good group of guys, and they're a blast to race with. And you guys in the booth, everyone that makes this league go around, all the admins, and Chad and everyone else, and all the sponsors that pretty much makes this thing go. And hopefully everyone enjoyed that race tonight that was watching. It was a good Richmond race, and we usually have those, so that was fun. And now it's time to where the money pays out, and it's time to where the big boys go play, I guess you should say.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Matthew. Congratulations on P3, and we'll see whether we're talking to you next week.
Hope so, man. Y'all have a good one.
P3 Matthew Weeks. Let's grab P2 Jonathan Cutlip, bring him in. And Jonathan, congratulations. You are moving on to race for a championship next week. Got some familiar faces in there racing against you. But before we look into that, take us through what was a really smooth race for you, where you were really the only guy even close to challenging Blake Reynolds tonight.
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful. Didn't pass anyone and didn't lose any spots, so I can't really say too much. Well, I guess we got past Stanley off the first stint, but yeah, it was a pretty quiet night. That's pretty much all I could ask for. It's been a rough few weeks just on the sim in general, so it's been nice to just click a decent finish off.
You mentioned a really quiet night, and I know one thing we talked about a lot tonight was how important qualifying seemed to be. There may have been some guys who had some speed further back in the field and just were never able to get up to the front, whereas you were able to, turn around that second place qualifying effort and finish right there in second. How much do you think that was a factor for you tonight?
I feel like air is a massive thing in this car. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the dominating factor at this point. yeah, track position is just it's set a premium pretty much. You could even feel it when we were coming up to the lap cars. We just dropped so much pace so fast. Just try to get any clean air you can. And unfortunately, the race was at night this evening, and it pretty much narrows the lanes up to the bottom, maybe bottom half of the track. And Richmond is a super fun track when the lanes widen out, when you're going up to the wall and you're just battling the car and just trying to get clean air runs wherever you can get it. But yeah, it's super difficult to make any sort of time up if you're in dirty air. And luckily we had track position tonight and stayed up there the entire time.
Well, Jonathan, moving us forward to looking at next week at Chicagoland, you are still going for your first Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series championship. We know how it ended last time at Las Vegas. Take me through the thought process to go out there and change the result from last season to this season.
It's still pretty much the same. It's just you can only do what you can do, and it's just a crapshoot at the end of it, and just hope the luck's on your side, and just hope it plays out that way. Just yeah, like people always ask me if I do anything different during the playoffs and during the championship races, and to be honest, it's just nothing different. I just show up and hopefully we have a good race and can finish up in the front.
And before we let you go, Jonathan, who do you have to thank on this runner-up finish tonight?
Shout out to Field Up Racing. I forgot to get them last time I was here, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, shout out to them. It's a great group of guys. Shout out to Race CPI. I am really looking forward to our Road Pro program next season, or whatever it is. Ran to try to get into the Coke Series. So I'm really looking forward to that. Shout out to you guys over here, David and Zach. You guys do a phenomenal job week in and week out. I hope you guys had a fun time tonight. The racing was really fun still. Yeah, shout out to my mom. She watches every week. She's I'm sure she's ecstatic for the second place finish and locking into the Champ 4, but yeah, we'll see what we can do next week, and hopefully the luck's on our side.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Jonathan. Congratulations on P2 tonight. Hopefully you're one spot better next week.
Yeah, have to see how it goes.
Jonathan Cutlip, runner-up finisher tonight. Let's grab, for the third time this season, race winner Blake Reynolds. And Blake, congratulations on the race win. For you, it seemed like just a little Sunday drive. I mentioned in the broadcast that I felt like you won the race during the qualifying lap. Did it kind of feel like that?
Yes, it definitely did feel like that. I was waiting for Crump to put down a good lap, but it looked like the track was really tricky in qualifying. I felt like I didn't do that good of a lap, and me and John were talking. We're always hanging in Discord in these races. We both felt like there was a 3 out there in qualifying, and we both ran like mid to high 4s, so not that great of a lap for what the track had, but when it's tricky like that, sometimes no one hits a good lap. So yeah, dirty air was a little bit more than I thought it would be tonight. I guess it was in real life, right? So but very interesting. It's nice when the races go green. A couple cautions dusted here and there, but that's elite for you.
Well, obviously, you were already locked in to the championship with the win at the Nashville Superspeedway, but now you know who you'll be racing against for that title next week at Chicagoland. Does that, having the names, does that kind of change the way you approach next week at all? Do you kind of have a favorite out of the group picked out, or is it still pretty much business as usual going into that 400 miler?
I'd say business as usual, but the other 3 are, John and Justin are teammates with me in the Grand National Series, so obviously some relationships there, and then I hang with Zeus in Discord too, so really I'd say we're all kind of friends and so we're teammates in some fashion, whether that's Technical Alliance or whatever. I just got to take care of them. Can't cause too much beef. It's not, I've already won my championship. It's not, I don't need to I don't need to be Austin Dillaning the finish or anything like that, So, yeah, just keep cool, run the race. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah, Blake, you've talked to us before about how much you like and dislike some of these tracks. What do you think about Chicagoland as a track next week? And how do you expect the race to play out since you've been pretty competitive at these other mile and a halves?
I'd say it's a pretty good one. I think that's one where you can actually avoid the dirty air. There's a couple that we've been to that, like Kansas. That was, that's a multi-group track, right? And we couldn't do crap to avoid that dirty air. It was like the tire wouldn't accept any other lane. I don't think that'll happen at Chicagoland. It's not as it's not refreshed. Obviously, it's not iRacing's latest and greatest. So it kind of has that kind of legacy grip to it, and bumps and seam grip and all that stuff, all the good stuff that everyone loves from classic iRacing. So. We'll see. I think A Fixed was there not too long ago. I didn't run a lap, but I did hear that it was fun. Hopefully the gear gets changed. I think it tacks out a little bit in fifth into turn one, so hopefully that gets fixed. But I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite tracks, just from high horsepower Gen 6 days, man. You used to get in the corner there like 205 and break all the way down to like 150. It was sick in the middle of 1 and 2 there. Get to that first scene.
And before we let you go, who do you have to thank on this win tonight?
Tonight, got Drink Machine Works as the primary sponsor, and Track Racer Simulation most of the season. Channel 199 Sim Racing, Racecraft Academy. Shout out to Paul Mikolajczyk tonight. Did you all see him in P7?
Oh yes.
How about him, man? I gave him the brakes I was running right before qualifying, and it took him 100 laps to figure it out. But man, he was a rocket. I'm really proud of Paul. He's improved a lot this season. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to Chad and the admin team for putting this on. I don't know if you noticed on the restarts all night, I followed Chad's rules that he DM'd to me after Phoenix. Explicitly, I did not leave that yellow line. You can check the VOD on that. So, shout out Chad. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this championship finale, and it should be a good one at Chicagoland. I'll see y'all.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, Blake. Congrats on the race win. We'll see you next week. See if you can run it back and win your second consecutive Belly Up Sports Cup Series championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
That was race winner Blake Reynolds. And Zach, only one more broadcast here in 2025 for us in this Belly Up Sports Cup Series. Season feels like it's flown by.
It really has, and I think everything about Chicagoland, is usually such a fun track to broadcast, such a fun driver's track to watch. I think we're in for a really great and compelling championship battle when we come back in 1 week's time next Tuesday, and really looking forward to seeing what plays out in that race.
Be sure to mark your calendars that next week's race is starting an hour earlier because it is a full distance race. So tune in with us at 6:30 rather than 7:30 rather than 8:30. Be 6:30 Central for any Central timers. And we'll see you next week. Everybody have a good night.